It's time to pick a side. The Border War is on the air with BG and 10.
Gang, welcome into episode 128 of The Border War. I'm the TanMan, joined to my right by BG. Welcome back to the studio, my friend.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's all I got.
That's all you got.
That's all I got today.
Well, you had a long few days.
Thank you.
You can follow us on Twitter at The Border War. He is at BG_Border War. I am at Tar Heel TanMan.
Ooh, that sounds weird.
Tar Heel TanMan.
I'm just so used to you. It's a good thing I didn't do the intro. I'd have said TanMan, the other thing. I'm not going to say it.
See, then you'd have had folks going.
The more I say the old one, the harder it'll be to get it out of my head.
Yeah, but we're on Facebook. Just recently found out. We've been telling you we're on Google Podcast and Apple Podcast. Apparently we weren't, but I got an email that said we are now. Castbox, if that's your cup of tea, we're on there too. So search for us, find us there. Of course, you can email the show.
Spotify.
We're on Spotify.
We're definitely on Spotify.
We're on a number of other things. Anything you want to listen to, whichever one you like, I'm sure we're there. BG got some emails this week, some interesting ones. Of course, we got a handful. I picked a couple interesting ones to read. The first one is from Ben in Duncan. I guess he listened to last week's show, heard us talking about some college football, how we both feel like Clemson's probably going to be there again.
Yeah.
Ben says, BG, what's up? What's up, BG and TanMan? Of course, I'm a Tigers fan, but I can appreciate you guys not being fanboys, unlike some of the local radio personalities. Well, thank you, Ben. You two call it just like you see it. My buddies and I listen at work every time you're on live. It's a much welcome break. P.S. and he takes kind of a shot at us. Who's going to win the pillow fight at the border? I guess he's talking about our matchup in about a month or so.
Are we ready to talk about that yet?
Well, I mean, we'll get into it more shortly. But
I
know who's going to win.
If South Carolina doesn't win that game, it's an absolute massive red flag. I would guess the four classes that'll be represented, North Carolina's outranked in recruiting by about 40 spots per class. Talent on the field shouldn't even be close.
We'll see.
I mean, if you want to get into that and you're going to start talking about your upcoming recruiting class, that's fine. This is a 2-win team. North Carolina won 2 games last year.
Okay, I'm not gonna rebut. We'll get into this game.
I'm just saying it should be.
We'll get into this game more as it gets a little closer.
An absolute blowout. It probably won't be.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. There's nothing you can say that should logically disagree with that. Nothing.
Okay. Lisa from Neepsco, Virginia. Lisa, I guess she's not happy with it. Ben was happy with last week's show. Lisa was not. Last week's show was just a Dallas love fest. Cowboys, Cowboys, Cowboys. They make me sick.
That is all we talked about last week. I kind of thought that myself.
Prescott is an overrated, no talent bum, and Elliott will be suspended before the season is over. I hope he makes it to week 2 so we can watch the Skins D plant him on his back all afternoon. Now let's hear some freaking Redskins talk this week, fellas.
I will say that Ezekiel Elliott has done very little against the Redskins. I will say that.
Yeah.
They've done a pretty good job shutting him down, but then again, we've devoted 3 drafts to shutting him down.
Well, you got
that. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like that should be something that they can do. We'll talk more about the Redskins today, though.
Yeah,
and the Cowboys.
Lisa, we hear you. We're sorry. My apologies, Lisa. Very angry. Hopefully this one...
there are some Redskins fans around here.
Finds her... Well, apparently there's one in Neepsco, Virginia that was not happy with the show.
Neepsco, huh?
Yeah, it's. I looked it up. I had never heard of it. It's about a little south of Arlington, kind of between Arlington and Dumfries.
Then that would make
sense.
Home
of North Carolina former point guard Kendall Marshall.
Oh, boy.
Dumfries, Virginia. Had to get that in there. Anytime you can get a Tar Heel basketball reference on the show, it's a win.
You don't find it difficult?
No, man. It never stops. Tar Heel basketball never stops. That's what the shirt says.
All right, let's start the show.
We're about a month or so away from college football. I think the 24th, actually. You get Miami and Florida kind of opening things up. But before we get into any of that stuff, the NFL season is cranking up faster by the day. You got training camps opening. I'm sure everybody will have been open within the next few days. This time next week, I believe, we've actually got live football. I think the Hall of Fame game is next Thursday night.
Okay, I'm not doing preseason talk. Like, I don't care.
Well, I'm not doing preseason.
I'm just don't even bring it up.
I'm just saying about a week from now.
Yeah, I saw the NFL.
You get actual football.
Somebody tweeted out, I think last Sunday without football. I'm like, shut up.
Well, I mean,
shut up, right. Man. Technically, it's awful football. Awful football.
But no, the Hall of Fame game is awesome for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like the pregame.
Yeah.
And then the first couple drives. And then it's just kind of But listen, where are we starting at? We're starting with the Panthers.
Panthers.
We're going to start with the Panthers.
Panthers, yeah.
Some Panthers storylines.
Back into the box.
Back in the box. Their training camp will be open. Maybe the last one ever at Wofford College.
I've actually talked to some employees at Wofford last week that told me they may be there 2 more years.
Well, I guess it just depends on how fast they get that.
They're not anticipating that facility to be ready anytime soon.
Yeah.
So at least 1 more year, I think, is basically done.
Oh, okay.
This will not be the last season.
I just saw one of the local news places here, trying to peddle. This might be the last time.
Well, of course they're trying to, but I've heard it that at least 1 more, maybe 2 more.
So BG's inside source at Wofford College says the Panthers are going to stay.
More than one inside source at Wofford.
Are going to stay for a couple more years. Anyhow, the training camp I think is going to be opening here in the next few days. So BG, what are we looking at for the Panthers? What kind of stuff should we be looking for as their camp opens up?
Well, the first thing that I think is worth talking about is this supposed, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, this supposed shift of Ron Rivera's defense. Well, let's call it what it is. It's Ron Rivera's defense, right? To a 3-4 front. I've never liked the 3-4 front. If I play on Madden, the first thing I do with the Redskins or anything is change it to a 4-3 so that you look like a football team. I get that the 3-4 seems to work really well in certain cases, but no one really knows if the Panthers are going to shift to this or not. I mean, he says these weird things in his pressers like, we're going to give the 3-4 a look. We're going to give it some looks. I mean, so he said, no one's come out and said, yeah, this is what we're running. Now, with camp opening, we're probably going to get a pretty good feel for it, whether or not they're really going to make this their base defense.
But to me, he
either isn't telling or he hasn't made up his mind yet either. And, you've got a lot of guys now in the league coming in that are sort of that, I don't know, 225, 230-pound defensive end / linebacker guy that can kind of play both. So I think that's causing some of this stuff. But, yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a Panthers fan, but if I were a Panthers fan, I'd want them to stick to the 4-3.
I'm with you. I think the 3-4, it seems to me like every time one of our teams says, we're going to switch things up, we're going to play a little 3-4, like it always turns into a disaster.
I think the 3-4 works really, really well when you have one of two things and probably both. One is a defensive play-calling genius who can really disguise blitzes. When Dom Capers, back in the day, before Charlotte got the Panthers, when he was the defensive coordinator at Pittsburgh, I just remember it was just impossible to know whether those guys were coming or staying. I think Bill Belichick does a good job with that in New England of disguising blitzes.
I think if you've got like some freak athlete
that
type
was
of guys,
was the thing.
Then you can kind of get creative with it. But otherwise, it doesn't work. And to me, if you take the time and you build your roster around a 4-3 defense, and then overnight go, we're gonna mix in some 3-4 looks here. I think you're setting yourself up for a mess.
And there are people who are argue that the 4-3 just doesn't fit the modern NFL anymore. But I think those people always underestimate the role of running. We've talked about it on the show. For all that people talk about, running backs aren't a big deal anymore. It seems like every year the teams that make it to the Super Bowl have a 1,000-yard back. And the teams that don't make it to the Super Bowl don't have 1,000-yard backs.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the 1,000-yard running back isn't exactly the benchmark it used to be.
It's not.
Several years ago.
Mostly, but let's put it this way: not a single back, but 100-yard rushing games. Even if you use 4 guys to do it, I still think that impacts the game. And for a lot of defenses, when you can absolutely stuff an offense's running game, I think it helps your defense tremendously.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to do that in a 4-3.
Like I said, and that you just brought up the running game. I think that's another interesting thing to watch out for as Panthers camp open. About this time last year, Carolina had signed C.J. Anderson, and we both thought, man, that's a really good signing. He had some good years in Denver, kind of was a victim of the numbers game out there. He lands in Carolina. Yeah. At some point during the season, they release him. He winds up on a Super Bowl champion on a NFC champion in the Super Bowl.
I don't remember talking about that cut specifically. I think we just sort of looked up, and all of a sudden he's scoring like 9 touchdowns in the playoffs.
Well, there wasn't a reason to talk about it because when he was in Carolina, they didn't use him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Let me look at what he had 24 attempts with the Panthers last year. So what was that? He literally carried the ball twice as much in 3 playoff games as he did in 16 games for the Panthers. What was that?
I don't know, but
and why did they cut him? I mean, there was obviously not a health concern.
It's a good question. I don't know.
And
that's
here they are.
One thing that I never understood.
And let me tell you what I'm tired of hearing about is Cameron Artis-Payne.
Hey, he's put up or shut up, man.
Here's my thing. He's going into his 5th season. If he was able to step up as the second running back, would we even be having this talk? I mean, why would you have signed C.J. Anderson last year if he's able to step up? I don't want to hear any more about it. Look, in the NFL, by the end of your 2nd season, tell me if I'm right or wrong, you are what you're going to be.
I think
especially at running back.
We're way past waiting on Cameron Artis-Payne to steal snaps or spell around. Look, man, it's not going to be it. Christian McCaffrey, I heard the number thrown out the other day, 91% of the offensive snaps last year.
And I'm going to say
91% of the snaps.
And in no way am I trying to curse this kid or whatever, but man, he is due to miss about 7 or 8 games with an injury.
That 91%, you take that with a grain of salt because he's not carrying the ball, obviously, 91% of the time. Sometimes they're lining him up out in the slot, lining him out, and so he's not really even in the play. But the point is, the big number, he's still at 91.
He touches the ball a lot.
He's involved somehow. 91%. So the guy
he's put on some much publicized weight this offseason. But again,
he's huge, man.
He's huge for his size. Let's put it that way. But it's the NFL.
Yeah.
You're going to get hurt sooner or later. And right now, if he were to get hurt, I'm not sure that it wouldn't be just barely a second place kind of situation to Cam Newton himself being hurt. He is, like you said, man, he is everything their offense runs through.
If Cam Newton is the 1A, then Christian McCaffrey is the 1B of the offense.
I agree with that.
How they handle that backup running back spot, who jumps up to take that. I like the pickup of Elijah Holyfield out of Georgia as an undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
So we'll see who kind of jumps up and grabs a hold of that spot.
And if a fight breaks out on the field, hey, he's able to handle himself.
He's got the background.
He's the real deal, too.
Obviously, Cam Newton and his shoulder, that's a given. If that's not right, then that team is not going to be right. So there's not really a lot to talk about there. But the other side of that offense, who was the wide receiver that they had that everybody always talked about from Michigan? Funches.
Funches.
He's gone now, so we don't have to hear about Devin Funches anymore. And so now they've got a lot of young wide receivers. Curtis Samuel.
I'm glad he's gone too, because I couldn't bring up again. Will he emerge as a wide receiver?
No, he's not, man. He's not. But they've got some guys: Samuel, DJ Moore. Last season, Jarius Wright played well. They added Chris Hogan from New England.
No, they've got plenty of talent at wideout. It's all young, but I mean, those guys. Newton's going to be able to get him the ball if he's healthy. I mean, that's just
You hope. Because he couldn't throw the ball 20 yards.
I said if he's healthy. if he's healthy. I mean, all the off-season signs point to it. Look, Cam, he's a big guy. He's not getting faster.
No.
This is going to be a critical season for him to stand in the pocket and throw the ball. North Turner can create offense if Cam Newton's healthy. No question in my mind. This Panthers offense, they really could be top 5 in the league in scoring if everyone's healthy.
Yeah, Cam is, we talked about it a few weeks ago, Cam is playing for a contract right now. You see quarterbacks around the league. You got, Peyton Manning played till he was 38, but he had some neck injury. You got Brady still out here in his 40s. Drew Brees knocking on the door to 40. Phillip Rivers knocking on the door to 40 himself. I don't think Cam Newton is going to be that guy.
Those guys are all elite passers, and that's what it comes down to.
And they don't get hit.
Right, because they get rid of the ball in 2 seconds.
They don't get touched. I don't see Cam Newton being a guy that plays until he's 38 to 39. I think he's probably got 3-4 more years of being really effective in this league. That'll put him somewhere close to his mid-30s. But some around the league, they had a list that came out, I think it was Bleacher Report, came out with a list the other day, had quarterbacks kind of in tiers. Cam Newton fell into that 3rd tier where it was kind of labeled is good enough to win you ball games kind of stuff. So,
I disagree with that. I think he's in the 2nd tier. I do not think he's a 1st-tier quarterback. He has had one 1st-tier season, and that's the thing. Panthers fans
that's it, though.
Want to argue with you about this, but they don't want to look at the numbers.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Cam Newton was towards the bottom in basically every statistical.
Was hurt. Again, I don't want to flip back to the other side. I'm arguing with myself, but that's why I put him in that 2nd tier. I think with everybody, you have to say when they're healthy. I mean, you could talk about, Fran Tarkenton was a great quarterback when he was young. He's not now.
Listen,
there's always a caveat.
I think people, before we move on to Redskins, I think people still put Cam Newton on this pedestal because of what he did in 2015. Listen, 2015 might as well have been 40 years ago in the NFL.
Yeah.
That is long gone, and I don't think that dude is ever coming back.
Well, but
he is gone. He is gone.
And I've always questioned, even when healthy, his ability to play quarterback the way the NFL demands you to play it. That year, that 2015 year, he had a ton of rushing touchdowns, man, a ton. And you could make the argument that he has paid the price for those rushing touchdowns ever since then. I mean, he didn't come out of that season very healthy. He certainly didn't seem healthy any of the 2 seasons after that or last year for the entire season. I think those hits take a toll. Before we jump to the Redskins, though, let me just bring this up since you didn't. Left tackle. Speaking of Cam Newton's health, You've got a rookie.
Got a rookie.
Starting at left tackle. Greg Little comes in. I mean, he's going to struggle a little bit. There's going to be some blindside hits on Cam Newton. I just think that's in the situation that they're in. Having no depth at left tackle to me is a big, big concern. Big concern. I mean, yeah, he comes from the SEC. He comes from Ole Miss. He comes from the harder side of the SEC. But, man, I don't know. I'm not if I'm a Panthers fan, I'm very concerned about Greg Little starting at left tackle.
There are a lot of folks out there who are really high on the Panthers. And we'll talk our predictions and things here coming up shortly. But we just named basically all 4, if you count Cam Newton, like major positions on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And they all have huge question marks.
Yes. And let's say half of them work out. That means 2 of them don't.
That means,
and which 2?
If you struggle to find really a go-to wide receiver, that's problematic. If the left tackle, if Little struggles, that's going to be big-time problems. And then we're not even talking about Cam Newton. Like I said, that's a given. Take that off the table. Because if that's not right, the whole thing's not right. So, like I said, a lot of people high on the Panthers. I don't know. I'm pumping the brakes on Carolina this year. Another place that
it is their turn to have a winning season, though. It's that season. They didn't have one last year, so
that's like.
But it's true.
Yeah, that's like the most fascinating stat in all of football, though.
Because it's been
it's
gone on
overall.
Forever.
You think about the Panthers, and you think, okay, that's a pretty solid organization.
It
right?
is. Yeah.
They've made 2 Super Bowl runs in the last in the last decade and a half. They've
made 2 Super Bowl runs since both of our teams have in their entire existence. I mean, like
they lost in the NFC title game 2 other times in their existence. Like I said, they've had stability at ownership for the most part. Really good head coaches. They don't turn over head coaches every single year, and the fact that they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons just blows my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens.
And they're not in a
tough
division where the other 3 teams are traditional powers.
Well, they won it at 7-9 a few years ago. Yeah. But anyway, the Redskins, they've got their own troubles. Some storylines as the Redskins camp opens. Obviously, Jay Gruden on the hot seat. I think you'd agree with that.
Yeah.
But to me,
longest tenured head coach under Dan Snyder's ownership already.
He probably shouldn't be. I would be staying anyway. I'm not going to say it. But to me, he's going to.
We'll talk about a long tenured head coach here in a little bit. Let's just you keep your own.
I'm just going to be quiet. To me, the biggest question is your starting quarterback. Obviously, it's not going to be Alex Smith. And how you're a Redskins fan. How does the quarterback position, in particular, Dwayne Haskins, is he going to buy Jay Gruden another season, or are they going to pull the plug on Gruden after the year?
To me, the central question is not the starting quarterback. The central question is, what does Dan Snyder think about Jay Gruden right now? If Gruden, is trying to save his job, then I think you probably see Case Keenum get the first 4 or 5 starts. And let's see how it goes. If Gruden feels confident that he's going to get at least next season before he has to worry about this, then I think you start Dwayne Haskins week 1. No one's picking the Redskins to win this division. You're not. I mean, are the Redskins possibly competing for a playoff spot? Yeah, probably. I mean, half the 2/3 of the teams in the NFC are competing for a playoff spot. Mm-hmm. Maybe everybody. I don't know. You just said, the Panthers backed in at 7-9 2 seasons ago. I don't think anybody thinks this Redskins team is going to be a 4 or 5 win team. They're probably going to be a 6 to 7 win team. And when you're a 7 win team, you're a couple of turnovers away from being a 9 win team, right? Yeah. I mean, you're in those games. So that to me is the real big question. What is Jay Gruden's actual job status? Not actual, but in his mind. Is he secure? Is he going to do what's best for this franchise? Because there's no question in my mind the best thing for this franchise is for Dwayne Haskins to get snap 1, game 1. Let's put him out there and find out. Because
that's what you really want. You drafted this kid at 15?
Yeah.
He fell to you. You didn't have to go get him. He fell right in your lap.
Didn't give up a thing to get him.
That's what Washington, if you're a Washington fan, that's what you should want. The same thing you should want if you're a Giants fan. You should want Daniel Jones to beat Eli Manning out. And that way you get rid of this whole Eli replacing a Super Bowl winner drama. If you're Washington, listen, Case Keenum, we saw the best season Case Keenum was ever going to have a couple years ago.
But
he's never going to, like Cam Newton, he's never going to be that guy.
What I'm saying is it's a litmus test. If Keenum starts game 1, let's be honest. I mean, Case Keenum should be able to beat Dwayne Haskins out right now. Am I right? I mean,
right now.
We make fun of Case Keenum. I flipped out on Twitter when we signed him, but at the same time, I mean, he's a B- quarterback in the NFL. He's better than average if you look at all the second stringers and everybody. He can play football. He can dissect the defense. Dwayne Haskins is not going to be able to do any of that right now. But again, if Keenum starts, then to me, that only means that Jay Gruden thinks he needs to win some games right this second. Right this second. Because Haskins is going to play like a rookie. He's an unpolished college player. He has a lot of potential, but he's unpolished. He hasn't had a ton of starts at the collegiate level. He's going to struggle. And so the only way Gruden starts him is if he knows that he's going to keep his job and you're going to get this year to develop it.
Well, that or you start Case Keenum to start the year and he's so terrible and he struggles so badly that you just you're on the way to getting fired if you keep playing this guy.
Yeah.
And so
the other
you
thing
throw
I was
Haskins
say,
out there and go, and then that way at the end of the season, if like I said, I think your defense is going to be really good
if they're healthy.
Yeah, I think your
and that's
defense
what's happened.
Should be really good. But if Keenum is just kind of okay, which he's been the last handful of years, if Denver had another option, I'm certain that they would have gone to it the last year. But if he can't really hold off Haskins, then Jay Gruden can come at the end of the season and go, look, we did some good things with this rookie quarterback, and I think he'll end up getting another season out of that.
Well,
Haskins might be what saves his job.
The other element to this is the fan base and attendance and money. Because if Dan Snyder starts to figure out early on that this fan base, especially if Case Keenum gets to start week 1, do not look for that stadium to be full.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Well, Case Keenum has never moved the needle for any fan base ever.
Yeah, but this is a fan base that is, just to put it bluntly, they are pissed off at Bruce Allen, at Dan Snyder, at Jay Gruden, at this entire ineptly run organization. And there are fan bases that expect it. We make a lot of Redskins jokes. This is a fan base that has been used to being an elite program. And under this owner, that has all changed. And I think they're at their wits' end, and you're not going to see that. The Redskins season ticket package continues to be one of the most expensive in the NFL. Their stadium continues to be one of the worst in the NFL. Attendance at Redskins games up till this past season continued to be the second best in the league after Dallas, just because of the size of the stadium.
We'll crowd people into a 6-inch corner if we can tack another number on that attendance.
So again, this is a loyal fan base that has stayed loyal through terrible, terrible, terrible decisions for the past 20 years. They're done. They're done with it. And
so they're pissed off and they're not taking it anymore in Washington.
But what I'm saying is they want Haskins to start right now. Like I think they want to see him take every snap of every preseason game.
Listen,
they want to know what this kid's got.
I'll say this. When I watched Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State, I was never the biggest Haskins fan at Ohio State.
Right.
But all that aside,
he's on your team now.
He's on your team now. He's there now. I don't know why you wouldn't start it. Unless he is just Jamarcus Russell right from the jump and is just lost, doesn't put in the work. Like if he's doing everything he needs to do, there is absolutely no reason for Washington to start Case Keenum in a football game.
Agreed.
None.
But if Case Keenum does start, do you agree with me that is a purely selfish decision on the part of Jay Gruden to try to win a couple of games in the first 2 or 3 to save his job? Why else would you do it?
Well, no, I think if Keenum starts the first couple games, I think you're right. I think that's a sign that maybe he thinks that Haskins isn't quite ready to win football games yet. Because I think you're right. I think Case Keenum is a Colt McCoy type. He can come in. If your quarterback gets hurt, he can come in and he's fully capable of winning a football game. Fully capable, right? But as far as, like I said, as far as saving his job, I disagree with you there. Because I think that once you put Haskins in, that's going to buy him another season. I think at the end of the year, because like all rookie quarterback, he's going to do some really good things. He's going to do some really bad things. And at the end of the year, they're going to go through. They're going to look at the good things, focus on the good things that Haskins has done. Like you said, the fan base wants him. So the fans are going to be a little more excited once Haskins gets in there. And I think Gruden will ultimately wind up getting another crack at it.
A lot of people think if they don't make the playoffs this year that Gruden's out. And I just think, it would be an awful situation to have this quarterback have to deal with that.
Well, listen, it's
an awful situation.
You're in the NFC East where you have
If you were going to fire Gruden, it should have been at the end of last season. You knew you were going to draft a quarterback, whether it was Haskins or whoever. You should have brought a new head coach in for your new quarterback.
Exactly.
If you're going to fire him now, it needs to be after next season.
Look,
and it just has to be.
When you look around the NFC, I want you to tell me where Washington should even be discussing the play. You look at the East, they're in there with Philadelphia.
Yeah.
2 years removed from a Super Bowl.
Right.
They're getting Carson Wentz back. And Sal Palantonio, I heard him this morning on what you call it, Mike and not Mike.
Yeah.
They said, he looks fantastic.
Well,
physically, he looks fantastic.
If he stays healthy, he's the best quarterback in the NFC. Maybe after Aaron Rodgers, he might be league MVP again.
You got Philadelphia. You've got Dallas. When you look at some of the other divisions, you have Carolina, New Orleans, Atlanta in the South. You've got Green Bay. Like, I don't see where Washington is going to jump up and be in this playoff.
Well, the only way
is
is for their defense to carry them, and this is an
elite you have to win a lot of games, like 13-10.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
The other spot that has really got my eye for Washington this training camp. Last year, we were both really high on Darius Geis out of LSU. He lasted
First game.
He lasted like 6 minutes.
Had like a 62-yard carry, and then on the next carry, tore his MCL.
Yeah, but Geis, I saw some of his workouts. He looks good, man. He looks good.
I mean, to me, this whole running back question, there is no question. That's the answer.
Listen,
Geis. He has to carry the ball bunches and bunches and bunches and bunches of times. I don't care.
Listen, you have Adrian Peterson, 30, like the Father Time was busy doing other things when they built Adrian Peterson. There is no 30-year-old cliff for him, at least not last year, or at least he pushed it back a year or so. Over 1,000 yards for AP last year. He's got some off-the-field issues right now. I'm with you, man. I'm looking for Darius Geis to take that job and run with it. I think this kid's going to be fantastic.
Your only other option, Chris Thompson, who was designed by God himself to be a third-down running back, right? He's small, he's quick, he has great hands. You want him on the field in those 3rd and 3 situations where you can throw him a screen, where you can hit him on a slant. That's not Geis' strong point. But first down, second down, yeah. You want Darius Geis to be the workhorse he was brought in to be. He is a physical specimen. He has great burst. He has a great attitude. He runs angry. He is exactly what this team needed last year. Adrian Peterson can still carry the ball 13, 14 times a game. I'm hoping this Redskins offense is very run-heavy. They need both of them.
Well, listen, they're going to have to be run-heavy. We just spent 10 minutes talking about their quarterback situation. Whichever way you go is
the quarterback
situation
is tied into their wide receiver situation, of which there isn't one.
And so they're going to have to be run-heavy. The article I read earlier today, it mentions about, kind of brings up the idea of whether or not you want to bring Darius Geis along a little slower, maybe more of a timeshare, maybe even favor Peterson early on in the year, towards the end of the year, about halfway through, turn that over to Geis and kind of scale Peterson back after that. I think to me, that's a bullseye. That's exactly what you do.
Real quick, I don't want to cut your Cowboys time off. Trent Williams, of course, not reporting to camp. At least it's reported. Everybody says he's not going to be in camp. I don't even get what this is about, just to say that there was a non-malignant tumor on his head and he's angry with the team for not diagnosing it earlier. It's all very strange to me. And I'm just going to leave it at that. To say that the Redskins need Trent Williams is like saying the Redskins need to breathe oxygen during games. If he doesn't end up playing for them this season, bad. Really, really, really bad. He's their best player.
Could you imagine?
Best player on the team.
If he doesn't play, then I take back everything I said about putting Dwayne Haskins
I was about to say that's
it's
just like we talked about with the Panthers.
If that's turning into one of those little spin around hospital doors where you just kind of walk in and follow the door, if that thing turns into a turnstile, keep Haskins on the bench, man. Don't put him out there for that.
Because he'll get killed.
He'll get killed.
Yeah.
So we'll move over to the Cowboys. Hopefully that appeased Lisa. Hopefully she's relaxed a little bit now. Quite angry. Lisa, we hope you stick around for the last part of the show. We're going to be talking some Cowboys.
But it doesn't really matter, though, Lisa, because you already clicked.
That's true. Your number counts.
Do what
Lisa.
you need to do.
Yeah, your number is in the annals of history of listeners. The Cowboys, they'll be opening up here. And, again, we talked about it last week. The big story still all day long. Anytime you turn on ESPN or Fox and listen to the sports talk folks, it's still all about contracts.
Can we just say, though, that, I read a couple of articles. You can find articles online about the top 5 issues in camp for any team.
Yeah.
The Cowboys don't really have any issues other than this. Like, there's stuff that people keep bringing up. Jay Witten coming back, that's not an issue.
Who?
It's barely a storyline.
I know you just misspoke. All right? Listen, it happens. I do it 50 times a show.
You do.
But I am not going. Most of the time, we just kind of roll with it. Listen, I can't let you disrespect that man like that. That man's a Hall of Famer. His name is Jason.
Well,
your coach's name is Jay.
But when you know somebody well and their name's Jason, you call them Jay. The letter J. Jay Witten.
Jason.
Well,
Continue
maybe you don't know him as well as I do.
Well, listen, if you know Jason Witten well enough to call him Jay, then I want to know why we're sitting in this tiny room talking about this and why we haven't had Jay Witten as a guest.
I don't think Randall Cobb is a storyline.
I think he is.
I think he's going to contribute, and there's some questions there. But what I'm saying is, these are guys that are being brought on to a good football team. You know, if Randall Cobb were joining the Redskins, that would be a storyline because we would really, really, really need him. Whereas he's just being brought in to fill for a guy that was only wide receiver 1 because you didn't have any talent yet, but you took care of that.
Well, listen,
so the only real question here is Zeke's contract and Dak's contract. And we talked about it for a long time last week.
Yeah.
That's really the whole offseason to me.
To me, that's probably the most interesting thing. I don't think it's necessarily the most important thing, but I think it's the most interesting.
Well, what's the most important thing?
Where you want to go?
There's only one thing that's most important. You tell me.
Well, I think there are several things that are very important. I don't know that any of them. No, I don't know that any of them are the most important thing. I think offensive line. Look, last year you lost Travis Frederick to like that weird.
We're not supposed to just check that off as being a strength. That they said that what we do with the Cowboys.
Well, that's what they said. Yeah, I think that was a storyline several years ago. It's kind of been knocked back a little bit. Yeah, you had Frederick with that weird. I don't even know what it was. Some kind of autoimmune thing where he just kind of.
I don't know if that's worse or better than having something growing off your head.
I think 6 1/2 doesn't any other. At least with the thing growing on your head, you know.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Right.
This dude, just kind of walked in the doctor's office and the doctor said, shutting you down, you're done.
Wow. Yeah.
And so
that's scary.
Him coming back and how we kind of fill out that offensive line, I don't think Larry Allen's walking through the door. I wish he would.
I don't even know if Larry Allen can fit through the door.
Larry Allen could probably just pick the door up and carry it with him wherever he wants to go.
Larry Allen, right now, 2019, plus or minus 500 pounds. And I'm not sure. He could be in really good shape. He could be one of those offensive linemen that lost
like 200 pounds as soon as he walks out.
Yeah.
To me, on defense, I think we added Robert Quinn. So you've got Quinn, you got DeMarcus Lawrence on that offense or on that defensive line. I think we're going to be able to get after the quarterback. But what they do with Sean Lee? Like, this is a guy who, when he's healthy,
is he not capable of playing another linebacker position?
I don't know.
I mean, surely he is.
I don't know. I mean, you know that I've never heard that brought up. Like, all I hear is
that's what I would do with him on Madden. His rating would drop from an 87 to an 84. I'd be fine with that.
But now all you ever hear is Jalen Smith's going to take his job, and so what do you do with Sean Lee? It's like how they fit that in and how he works out. Smith, Leighton Vander Esch. Now, Hal Lee, he might wind up being just kind of a numbers crunch casualty.
Yeah,
I hate to see it, but the other one, listen, I want to see Jason Witten back. You kind of talked about before. That is something. Amari Cooper aside, the first half of last season, not having that weapon on the outside really hurt. But I think not having a guy in the middle of the field when you kind of get flushed out of the pocket and you got to get rid of the ball and get a first down. We thought Rico Gathers might be that guy. We've got some other blocking tight ends, but nobody to really solidify that spot. And I think that's the one thing Jason Witten's going to do. He's going to come back and kind of not necessarily right the ship, but he's going to come back and be that steadying hand when things kind of break down on offense.
Witten's biggest catches usually take place with him standing still to catch the football because he does such a good job of reading zone coverage, finding those empty spots, and just sort of sitting there and get the ball. But I did some math on Witten. I took his stats the past 3 seasons, not last year.
Right.
The past 3 seasons he played, and every major category went down 3 years straight. And I sort of just projected what I think his stats will be this year. You tell me whether maybe he's not even a stat guy. Maybe you can't really measure Witten's impact by his stats. But I've got him at about 55 catches this coming season for 450 yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns. That's about where his trajectory was taking him.
I think you're right. Somewhere between 55 and 65 catches is probably right.
Yeah.
Somewhere, what did you say yardage wise?
I've got him at about 450 yards.
Yeah, somewhere around 500.
I think the last season he played was about 520 yards.
Yeah,
I took him down a little from that.
That's what I was going to say. Somewhere between 5 and 550 probably. He'll catch a few touchdowns. Yeah, he had a couple like really big touchdown seasons. He had like a couple double-digit touchdown seasons.
But they were 10 years ago.
But that hasn't been recently.
He's never been a touchdown machine. Not really ever.
What I would counter your math
kind of like Randall Cobb.
Yeah,
Randall Cobb has never been a big touchdown guy.
I would counter your math argument with this. You said the last 3 years, right?
Now, he did sit out last season.
Well, he sat out last year.
Maybe he comes back a little replenished.
He played those last few years with Dak Prescott and not Tony Romo. And I think he and Tony Romo had such a chemistry.
Yeah. They
were always on the same page. Always on the same page. And so I think
Are we sure Romo's staying in the booth? I mean,
I think we're well past that.
All right.
But I think he and Romo had such a great chemistry on the field that when Tony Romo had to retire and when he left the team and Prescott took over, like they were always a pass first offense with Romo, right?
Oh yeah.
Pass first, pass first, second, and third down. And when Prescott come in, the offense changed a little bit, and so he wasn't kind of the focus. He wasn't Dak's guy like he was Tony Romo's guy.
Well, last year,
some of that's just
there was before Amari Cooper and after Amari Cooper, and you have two different teams, two different offenses. Do you think Kellen Moore coming in at offensive coordinator is going to be any kind of issue? I mean, he was on staff last year. He was a running back coach. I don't think it's going to make a big difference because, I'm not even sure he's really going to be calling plays. I think this is going to be the same offense is what I'm getting at. I don't think it's going to look very different.
As I say, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to look drastically different. I think what you saw at the end of last season is pretty much what you're going to see this season. I mean, Kellen Moore, here's a guy who he was actually playing just a couple years ago.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden, he's your offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So he's not going to come in and try and reinvent the wheel. He's going to keep doing whatever the guy before him did, right? He's not going to come in and change up a whole lot of stuff. That's why I wasn't really a fan of the Kellen Moore hire. I just don't think he's got enough experience.
The Cowboys are not
an
organization you think of being in the kind of situation where they'd need to make a hire like that. But maybe they just wanted him on staff. They see potential in him. I don't know. Maybe,
and that's kind of the same thing. That kind of worries me because that's basically the same thing they did with Jason Garrett.
Going into his 9th season in Dallas.
And that's exactly how we wound up with Jason Garrett. We're going to hang on to him because we see something in this guy. And lo and behold, here he is. Man, he's like the gum on the bottom of your shoe. You just can't get rid of this guy.
Yep.
No matter what you do, he's there.
I can't really see him wearing anything else. He just looks right in that blue vest with that.
Listen, there are thousands of shades of blue. He can go put another one on. A Denver blue, a Giants blue, a Lions blue. Just take this one off, man.
Yeah, don't see it happening, man. Jerry loves him. He does. He did not get a contract extension, though.
Well, and we did that. We've done that before, and the last time we did that, I think we won like 13 games.
Yep.
And here we are, still sitting here with Jason. Like, I don't even know what to say about it. He's there. Maybe you'll fire Jay Gruden and hire Jason Garrett thinking, man, we'll go steal some Cowboy secrets.
I think that's very unlikely. One of those things might happen. I don't think the other one will.
That's it for the episode. Again, training camp's opening up. College football, about a month or so away. Again, you will have live football this time next week.
Half live.
Yeah,
half dead.
Yeah. There will be actual people there with actual pads.
Man,
and
I
actual
hate
ball.
the preseason.
You can email the show at carolinaborderwar@gmail.com. Have good things to say, have bad things to say. Either way, if you're interested, we'll read it on the air. Again, fantasy football. If you want to play, sign up. You're running out of time. Goodbye.
You ever be really, really hungry and you have like one stuffed mushroom that's left over,
I don't eat
and
mushrooms.
it just
No.
makes you hungrier. That's all preseason football is. It's one hors d'oeuvre.
I don't eat mushrooms. They're stupid.